Hello, Solex Nation. Welcome to our weekly update. First off, we want to thank you all for an amazing March. We doubled our sales from February and also saw over 850 new enrollments over the month. Can you say hello, Liftoff bonuses? We are so excited to see this explosive growth of such a young company. And we are happy you're all here, enjoying so much success in the very beginning of it all. We are pleased to note that most new preferred customers are properly enrolling by setting up an auto ship for future orders. Thank you for taking the time to help your new recruits through this process to ensure they are set up correctly. In February, we saw a 1-to-1 ratio of preferred customers to retail. And in March, we saw a significant change where there were 2 preferred customers signing up for every 1 retail. Please note that this month's commission run will take place on Monday, April 12th. Our typical day for running commissions is on the 10th of the month following the close of the commission period. When the 10th falls on a weekend or a holiday, we process commissions on the first business day following the 10th. Why do we do this? To ensure we have all the support and resources available to us, making the smoothest commission run possible. A printable enrollment form is now available in your back office. If you find you need the flexibility that having a hard copy brings, please feel free to download the file and print it off whenever necessary. To submit the form, simply scan it or take a clear picture of the form and email it to support@solexllc.com. The date of that email will be treated as the processing date, even if it takes a day or 2 to process in our system. There is now an enrollment and purchase guide for QLAs available in your back office. It walks a new Q through the process of ordering and signing up. We also have an enrollment and purchase guide specifically for preferred customers that should be available in your back office by the end of this week. Okay, on to our favorite part of the weekly update. Let's announce our top enrollers for the week of March 29th through April 4th. Our second highest enroller is Alana Veneris. Alana, this is the second time we've seen your name in the top 2 highest enrollers. You're doing a fantastic job. Our top enroller this week is Deva Butkunis. Congratulations, Deva, on a fantastic week. Be on the lookout for a Solex silver coin. We'll send that out to you tomorrow. That's all the announcements for this week. Now let's get to the good stuff. First, we'll hear from Kai Larson, who will go over some important reminders. Then we'll turn the time over to Lauren Swenson.
Hello, everyone. All right, it is my opportunity to announce the winner of last week's contest. If you'll remember, you had to email the 3 things that were required to earn a Liftoff bonus. And it is my pleasure to announce that the winner in this drawing of those submissions is James Chancellor. Congratulations, James. We will be getting your information and sending the newest Solex silver coin out to you. Along those lines, let me share with you and let's talk a little bit more about that Liftoff bonus. I know that we've talked a lot about it and we're just trying to maybe overfill the cup here with information to make sure that you feel comfortable with what makes a successful Liftoff bonus take place for you as you do your hard work of connecting with folks and doing scans and enticing them and getting them excited about what the AO scan technology does for everyone. Last week, Stephanie Warner talked about the effort that is required and should be required from each one of us when we bring in a new person into the Solex family. She did a wonderful job teaching you how to handhold somebody through this experience, this exciting experience of getting their own device and getting started and doing their first scans all on their own. I want to talk to you about a similar idea as far as with just a little bit more effort on all fronts, the return is far outweighs that effort that's required. In economics terms, and you guys know, okay, so a professor by nature and all of that goes with that, the law of increasing returns. It's an economic principle. Some of you probably know this. The idea is that with an additional measure of investment or effort, the return that you get far outweighs that effort that's required, meaning you get a lot more back than what you put in. And so what does that mean with ensuring that you have a successful Liftoff bonus experience? Well, I just want to show you one part. Handhold all of the effort that you take to talk to folks, to do scans, to answer their questions, to explain the technology as best you can, leads to this culminating experience as far as with the start of this relationship in that person deciding to buy their own device and sign up for their own subscription. Now, all of your effort should be rewarded. And we have designed our bonuses so that we can maximize this enrollment reward for you. With that law of increasing returns, if you will focus on just a little bit more effort right here, you will see exactly what's required right now in our current cart, the way it is right now, how you can ensure that you earn that Liftoff bonus, which is somewhere between 10 and 30% more than what you would get by otherwise doing it. So I want to just show you what the cart should look like when your new enrollee signs up. First, they're going to buy a device. Then they're going to pay for that month's service, that first 30 days worth of service. And then they're going to subscribe and save. Meaning the subscribe and save, as we said before, it's not a current purchase. You don't pay for that right now. That is an order that is projected into the future. In fact, it starts on the very first month following the month that you sign up. So, for example, if I were to sign up on the 10th of the month, and I set my auto ship as the third part of that cart, it would say, hey, on the 10th of the month, every month, this order will renew. And so what should the cart look like? Well, it should look like this. You have a device. You have a gold medallion right now to symbolize the first 30 days. That is what you're going to pay for right now. And you'll see that in the subtotal. The device and the first 30-day subscription add up to what is in the subtotal. And then you're going to see just down below it the order for the auto ship or the ongoing future orders of that subscription service. That also has a price next to it, but it isn't charged today. That is the price that's paid in future months as those orders are generated and as the credit card is successfully transacted. So what does it take to get a successful Liftoff bonus? Well, it takes these three parts. The device, the first 30 days of service, a gold medallion, and another gold medallion that says, hey, in the future, I want an auto ship that gives me that same 30 days worth of service every month until I decide to do something different with it. I hope that helps a little bit with you taking that little effort further in this process, whether it's hand-holding someone, going over to their house and doing it for them. Maybe you're doing it on your computer on their behalf. Maybe you're sitting right next to them to ensure that these three items are there in that transaction. You can be confident that the rules that we have set up for the compensation plan will then give you that 65% enrollment bonus, that Liftoff bonus, for all of the time and effort you spend building that relationship with that new person. We hope that makes sense and is a little bit more beneficial to you. We also have written documentation to go along with this as far as the sign-up process goes. And besides that, I just want to leave you with the thought of the law of increasing returns. Just a little bit more effort on one of these fronts, that attention is well worth the return to you. Thanks.
When my wife and I first got married, within a year or so, we found out that we were unable to have children of our own. And so we went the path of adoption. And being newlyweds and poor as church mice, we didn't qualify for typical adoption. We, interestingly enough, only qualified for handicapped children. You know, it's a supply and demand type thing, which is unfortunately But we ended up adopting a little 9-month-old baby boy who had been born with cerebral palsy. And at that time, I was an entertainer in Las Vegas. So it was feast or famine, and a lot more famine than feast, but it was a profession I really enjoyed. But as Michael grew, by the time he was 4 or 5 years old, we realized Michael was going to need a lot more help. And so at that point, as any parent would, you start to look at ways you can improve the quality of life for your child. And it led us to places like England, Germany, Korea, China, Mexico. We saw and became aware of therapies and technologies that we were not aware of here in the States. And so my wife and I went through really a paradigm shift of what's available. And I ended up leaving the entertainment industry, and we started focusing on a way we could help Michael. And we developed a machine that we called then the Omega Brain, which we now call the Theta Chamber. But it was a machine that comprised of frequency stimulus through both electrical, magnetic, light, sound, and motion. And it was a computerized system back, in the late 80s, early 90s. Computers were completely different than they are today. But anyways, long story short, we developed this machine for Michael, and Michael is now 39 years old, no signs of cerebral palsy. He's a second-degree black belt and speaks 5 languages: Chinese, Arabic, Spanish, German, and English. And this is a kid that was born with special needs. We learned at that time that we had been sold a bill of goods as far as what the medical community could do if it was freed from the shackles that it's in at this point. And so in 1989, everything changed in our lives, and we started becoming more into the complementary or alternative medicine field, and it led us down this road. All right, so now that's how we got into this, or how I got into this. So we'll fast forward now to 2008, and I'm at a medical convention in Guangzhou, China. And there was a Russian company exhibiting, and they had a huge booth. The booth must have been 50 feet square. It was a huge booth, and they had these tables set up, and they had these computers on them. And so we got in line and waited for our turn to get up to the computer. And what they were doing is they were scanning people. And so you had a Russian technician and a Chinese interpreter, and then we had our own interpreter that went from Chinese to English. And so we sat down, and they put on this headset, and they scanned us with this technology, and they nailed us. They with this headset on our head, and even though it was going through Russian to Chinese to English, it was dead on. It picked out every issue I had, every issue my wife had. And then they told us, at my word, it could actually help improve those conditions by putting frequencies back. And well, see, this was the language we definitely understood. So we were so impressed with that we made arrangements over the next 6 months to acquire this technology, or at least the rights to sell it in the U.S. And so we did that. We did that for a couple of years. And that technology has got several names: Metatron, the Hunter. I can't remember all the names, but anyway, we were working with a company out of Ukraine. And at the time that we started working with this technology, we were using their technology, and a technology from Germany, and a technology from Spain, and a technology we had worked on called SEFI. And we were putting them all together, kind of like Windows Office Suite, and we called it the AO scanner. The AO We felt like it was the beginning and the end of this type of technology. We felt the name was appropriate. And it was a suite of 4 different programs that were synergistic, but were not synchronized with each other. And by 2010, Windows had gone through a series of Vista, Windows 8, Windows 10. And when it hit Windows 10, the technology out of Russia became very, very unstable. And we were working with our technician in Ukraine, and he basically said, "There's nothing more I can do for you. This was written in a software called Borland, which is not even supported anymore." So we took our engineering department and we spent the next 18 months rewriting that software to work on Windows 10. And in doing so, we realized there's a lot of things that technology of 30 years ago could be improved upon. And so that's when we came up with what is now known the AO scanner. And we rewrote the Russian version, the German version, the Spanish version, and our own SEFI. And we made them all talk with each other. They all shared the same database. They all shared the same algorithms. And so when we scanned with the voice, it would tell us also, it would talk to the other modules of the program that would help us be able to do more. So now the AO scan is truly, we think, the beginning and the end. Not very humble, but that's how we feel. And it's completely integrated to where it talks. Now, is it 100% accurate? No. I don't know of anything that is. We think it's about 85% based on the studies that we've done in-house. But it basically, and the Russians and the Germans, we have to give credit where credit is due. They're brilliant. Mm-hmm. The path that they put this industry on will be forever in their debt. But to be able to talk to the body the way the body talks with itself, and that's through frequency, whether it's being electronically or electrically stimulated or magnetically stimulated or vocally, we create frequencies in our body, and that's how it communicates. And so we found that if we put a frequency in the way of an algorithm introduced it to the body would respond and say, "Oh, that's the left ventricle of the heart." And it would then give us what the vibrational rate of that particular item was. And we knew from the software, if it was vibrating too fast, it was under stress. If it was vibrating too slow, it wasn't functioning where it should be. So that's really the basics behind the AO scan. And we were able to take that across the other 3 platforms and make it to where they all cross-talked with each other. So basically what we were able to do is about 100 queries to the brain at a time per second, and it would give us back those results back. And so we could look on the charts, and it would tell us if it was in range, out of range, if it was in balance. And that's how the AO works. That's how we got there. And I know that was a very long answer to a very short question.
Walk us through, just before we get into details. So somebody wants to come into an office with an AO scan, what is the experience like? Like what will a patient who has chronic fatigue, let's say, gets scanned, what is happening, or what does that process look like?
Well, okay. So if someone was to come into the office first time, the first thing we'd want to do is enter in their profile. Now this is the thing that is different. When a client comes in, we need to make a completely unique electronic signature of that client. Mm-hmm. And we do that with their name, with their birth date, their gender, weight, and their picture. We take a digital picture. With that information, the computer creates a universal signature of that person that is 1 in 3 trillion chances of there being 2 identical ones. So it's essentially impossible to have more than one. With that electronic signature, That is your signature or my signature. We then introduce the algorithms of the machine, depending on what we're going to scan, into the body. It responds based on the energetic signal from you. It compares all that and produces us a report. So they would come in, they would sit down, we'd put their information in, create their signature, which takes about 3 to 5 minutes. Then we would have them speak for 10 seconds. We're catching the frequencies of the voice. This is the same technology used in the CIA for detecting lies. I mean, it's that accurate. So once we pick up the frequencies in the voice, then we kind of get an idea of the emotional state of the individual. And we know that emotions play heavily on our physical condition. In fact, I don't know of a disease out there that doesn't have an emotional anchor. So that's the first thing. So we've got a 10, 15-second scan of the voice. Then we would put some bone-conducting transducers on their head, and the transducers would actually sit right on the jawbone in front of the ear. So it's not on the ear itself, it's on the bone in front of the ear. And the vibrational signals are put in, and because it's a transducer, it also picks up the response back from the brain. That goes back in, the software analyzes. So the first thing we would do is what we call the vitals. And that would be akin to maybe a blood and urine sample type of a test. And we put those in. We would measure 550 different functions in the body. Then with that headset still on, we would then do what we call a comprehensive. And this would be more akin to like an MRI or a CT or an X-ray, where we're looking at more specific physiology in the body. And so the first one takes about 5 minutes, and the comprehensive is going to take about 10, 15 minutes. That is how we scan. So it's simple, it's comfortable, there's nothing invasive to the body. Once we have that information, then we can do what we call the optimization. And that's where you're using the sympathetic vibration, where you're putting where all the things that were out of range vibrationally, we then put in encouraging frequencies that can influence and persuade the body to try to move back if that's possible. So about a 20, 30-minute process, simple, comfortable, and nothing that's scary.
Thank you for walking us through that. And one of the interesting things, too, is that this can be done in the office or if the patient is remote, right? And so a lot of my patients are really open-minded, and, they're just open to experiencing anything that's going to help them. And so they usually have no problem trying to, no obstacle in experiencing this. But some people might be like, okay, how does sending frequencies, if Christine's in Seattle and my patients, let's say in Washington, D.C., how does that work? And so do you have a way to explain that?
That's a really great question, and one we get asked all the time. And it's interesting in the day and age that we live in that people actually have a hard time with that. I mean, my word, we have cell phones, for heaven's sakes. We can dial in a number, and somebody in Beijing, China picks up that phone, and we're able to talk to them. And it's not like Morse code. We actually hear their voice. And we can turn it on to video call, and we actually see each other. So how is that being done? There's no wires. There's nothing connected. And yet we have a hard time when we explain that we can do that with vibrations for the body. But it's really quite simple. In fact, Nikola Tesla explained it as sending, through the ether. He referred it to sending a vibration through the ether. Of course, we know that he was promoting putting electricity through the air. Einstein called this technology a spooky effect that happens from afar. So you could send something through the air to somebody and they would receive that effect. He called it a spooky effect that happened from afar. When you have this client's signature, when you have that information, it's the same as having their cell phone number. When you enter that information in, you pull that up on your device, then the scans and the frequencies that you are doing on the device are going to that individual that you've targeted on your device and to that individual only. Nothing difficult or spooky or voodoo about this thing. That's exactly how it works. You dial in their number, you do the scan, you get the results back, and it's that simple. It's clean and it's simple. My son refers to it as electronic prayer. He says, when we pray for somebody, there's no connection, there's no medicine, doesn't matter if they're right next to you or 6,000 miles away, they still get the benefit of that prayer. Same thing, you're sending an energetic signal that the body receives.
So Lauren, one thing that's really intrigued me about the technology is an application you call Inner Voice, and you talked about it already a little bit, but it's basically, from my understanding, that you pick up an emotional imbalance, in the reading, and then you give people music essentially to help restore balance. We have a handful of speakers who talk about sound healing and sound medicine. So there's a conversation going on in the summit about that. But can you share a little bit more about what you all are doing and experiencing with that aspect?
Sure. Again, and this is, we're standing on the shoulders of people like Sherry Edwards and other people that have really pioneered the sound therapy. We found, just like they have, that when we have an emotional disruption in here, in our body, it affects us internally in our organs. And so it's not just, we're depressed that day or we have these emotional swings. They do affect us physically. And so we are more interested in how our emotions are affecting us physically rather than just a feel-good thing. And yes, we do use the music. We're recording 2,000 frequencies over a 12-octave spread. And in those 2,000 plus frequencies, we find where the anomalies are. And we look at the four that are furthest away from being balanced, the three highest and the one lowest. Now, in our observations, the ones that are really high above where your baseline would be, we find those to be emotions that we're overcompensating for. We're trying to show that we don't have it. We're putting on that smiley face. And the one below is the one that we suppress, the one that we bury. And in my experience, the ones we bury are the ones that are the most damaging to us, potentially. And so we're looking at those four. Now, there is no right or wrong way to do the inner voice. There's all sorts of practitioners doing different ways. For me personally, I will have my clients sit down and I'll have them quiet themselves, drink a little bit of water, and then I'll have them close their eyes and I'll have them take just 5 seconds. And I make sure they understand 5 seconds. I want you to think about the things that make you sad. Then I want you to open your eyes, and then I want you to close your eyes. I want you to take just 5 seconds, think about things that make you happy. I just need the emotions. And then I explain to them, we're not going to talk about what you thought about. In fact, I can give them a Dr. Seuss book and just have them read that. It doesn't matter what they say. The emotions are already here. And so as they speak, and the most important thing I found that someone can say is their own name. Hi, this is Lauren Swenson. Today is Friday, and I'm talking with Christine. And how long does it take to talk about 10 seconds? 10 seconds, it goes really fast. But those emotions have triggered those vocal cords, and we pick them up. And then we look at those. And then as you look at the reports that come from that, it shows you the physical issues that are associated with that particular emotion that's out of balance.
What about, I don't think we explained what the SEFI program is, Lauren. So can you just
Sure.
that?
The SEFI program is really dealing along the lines of what Nikola Tesla and Einstein talked about, and that is being able to send energies through the ether. So the SEFI has multiple things. It allows you to take a frequency and imprint it into a bottle of sugar pills and make your own energetic medicines. You have the ability to send a frequency or a set of frequencies to somebody anywhere and have them benefit from that being broadcast. So the SEFI is I think 13 programs where you have affirmations, you have homeopathic remedies, you have the Bach flower remedies, and a myriad of other types of energetic programs that are either meant to imprint into either a ring, a bracelet, or sugar pills, or to broadcast to somebody else. SEFI stands for Subtle Energy Frequency Imprinter. SEFI's easier to say.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Thank you for sharing that. What is your hope for the future of, this type of medicine, given what the world we live in is?
I think, especially with where the world is going and where it has been, this type of technology, whether it's ours or somebody else's, is paramount. This is, being able to take control of our own lives and of our own health is important. We need to stop becoming sheeples and become peoples that are taking responsibility for ourselves. The old phrase, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Take a look at what's happened in this last year, not just with us, but with our competitors that have similar technologies. This stuff is out there. I truly believe that when inspiration comes, it doesn't come to just one person. I believe it's sent to multiple people.
Hey, good night, everyone. It's been really fun watching all of the different things that are going on with this company. Thank you for all that you have done to help us to achieve some tremendous success. We've watched things happen this past month that we didn't think were possible. You should have seen the excitement around here when things took off, and we saw you double what you had done in the past. That was just amazing to us.
Incredible. Well, we won't keep you. Have a great night. Bye-bye. See you next week. Okay, wait. Lauren's not here.
Oh.
We're going rogue.
What are we going to do?
We're giving away 2 coins.
2 coins.
Okay, 2 coins.
All right.
Easy
About
rules.
time.
Okay, how about this?
Okay.
The top 2 people who sell the most mobile devices this week, we'll announce here next week the winners. How about that? Top 2.
I love that. I love when people get rewarded for going out and doing something. And that is fantastic. Let's do that.
All right.
All right.
We'll do it. That's it.
All right.
See you next
Good
week.
night.
Top 2 winners. Silver coin.
Take
It's
care.
yours.